even acknowledging the fact that he's waiting for him on the stage. He's getting ready! That's what I'm talking about!
What a chance now for Meta. He goes for the command grab. The punish counter for the kill. He's right all along as he marches to winner side grand finals here at EVO.
It's going to be a little different now. I feel like it's going to be a little harder for him to clear the hurdle, so to speak.
Combo Breaker 2025 champion.
In the early 1990s, local arcades were dominated by cooperation. If you wanted to succeed, you teamed up with a friend in side-scrolling beat-em-ups like Final Fight or Double Dragon, marching down a linear street to beat up waves of computer-controlled thugs. Gaming was a shared journey against the machine. But in March of 1991, Capcom released a cabinet that changed the social fabric of arcade culture forever. It didn't ask you to cooperate. It invited you to compete. Street Fighter II, the World Warrior, didn't just revitalize a dying arcade industry. It single-handedly established the foundational logic of the competitive fighting game genre. Every modern fighting game, from Smash Brothers to Mortal Kombat, still speaks the exact mechanical language that Capcom engineered inside this 16-bit cabinet. But they didn't do it just by giving characters flashy special moves. They did it by turning digital space, human reflexes, and math into a competitive sport. Here is how they built the arena. To understand the genius of Street Fighter II, you have to realize that it isn't actually a game about punching people. At its absolute core, Street Fighter II is a high-speed game of chess about controlling space by locking two players onto a strictly two-dimensional, horizontal plane. Director Takashi Nishiyama and designer Akira Nishitani turned the screen into a dynamic, mathematical grid. Because you could only move left, right, or jump up, every single pixel of distance between the two characters mattered. Capcom achieved this spatial tension by perfecting three invisible concepts that define the fighting game genre today. The neutral game, Footsies. When a round starts, neither player has an advantage. The space between them is neutral territory. Capcom assigned every single attack animation a unique physical reach, or reach variable. A light punch is incredibly fast, but has tiny range. A heavy kick is slow and risky, but covers massive ground. Players had to constantly move back and forth, dancing just outside the enemy's maximum reach to bait out a missing attack and punish it. The Fireball anti-air archetype, Ryu's Hadouken, wasn't just a projectile. It was a spatial wall. By throwing a fireball across the screen, you forced your opponent to react. If they stayed still, they took block damage. If they tried to jump over it, they were locked into a predictable airborne arc, allowing you to intercept them with a devastating dragon punch. The corner constraint. The screen boundaries weren't just decorative. They were physical walls. If you pushed your opponent all the way to the edge of the screen, you eliminated their ability to walk backward. By trapping them in the corner, you effectively cut their survival options in half, creating a structural reward for aggressive spatial dominance. If spatial control established the rules of defense, An accidental miracle in Capcom's programming code invented the modern concept of offense. This brings us to the single most influential accident in video game history, the combo system. During the development of Street Fighter II, lead programmer Noritaka Funamizu was checking a bonus stage where the player smashes a car. He noticed that if a player entered a specific special move command quickly enough after a standard attack, the game's animation engine would completely skip or cancel the remaining wind-down frames of the first attack, instantly executing the special move. Funamizu thought this trick was far too difficult for an ordinary human player to discover or pull off reliably. So he left it in the game code as an undocumented Easter egg. He was completely wrong. The moment the game hit arcades, competitive players discovered this mechanical loophole and weaponized it. It birthed two revolutionary concepts. Hit stun. When an attack successfully lands, the receiving character is locked into a brief, uncontrollable, reeling animation called hit stun. During these frames, they cannot block, move, or counter. The combo link. By utilizing Funamizu's frame-canceling glitch, players realized they could land a second, faster attack before the opponent's hit stun frames expired. If timed perfectly, the second hit was entirely guaranteed. The implications were massive. Combat moved away from single, isolated trades of damage and transformed into a high-execution rhythm game. Players were rewarded for their muscle memory, allowing them to maximize a single opening into a devastating sequence of linked damage. An accidental bug became the absolute foundation of offensive competitive play. Before Street Fighter II, competitive multiplayer games almost always featured symmetric design. In early sports games or racing titles, Player 1 and Player 2 used identical characters with identical stats to ensure absolute fairness. But Capcom rejected this symmetry, choosing instead to engineer balance through beautiful asymmetry. The original release of Street Fighter II presented 8 distinct characters from different corners of the globe. Crucially, they didn't just look different. They operated on entirely different mechanical principles, creating the definitive blueprints for modern character archetypes. The Shoto, Ryu, Ken, the balanced baseline. They possessed a projectile for long range, an invincible anti-air for close defense, and a forward-moving attack. They taught you the core rules of space. The Zoner Dalsim, a character with slow movement, but limbs that could stretch across the entire length of the screen. Dalsim altered the spatial math entirely, forcing opponents to play a high-stress game of hide-and-seek just to get close. The Grappler, Zangief, the absolute inverse of Dalsim. Zangief possessed 0 projectile options and the slowest movement speed on the roster. However, if he managed to navigate past your defenses and close the gap, his command throws dealt catastrophic damage. This asymmetry turned every match into a complex exercise in risk versus reward. Balance wasn't achieved by making everyone equal. It was achieved by giving every character distinct, overwhelming strengths alongside glaring, exploitable weaknesses. It created the concept of the matchup, forcing players to adapt their entire strategy based on who was standing on the opposite side of the screen. In the summer of 1991, you didn't join an online matchmaking queue to prove your skill. You walked into a loud, dimly lit arcade, walked up to the Street Fighter II cabinet, and placed a single quarter on the glass overlay. That quarter was your physical ticket into a meritocracy. If you won, you stayed on the machine, reigning supreme until the next challenger stepped up. If you lost, you went to the back of the line. by transforming video games from a solitary journey into a tense, face-to-face psychological duel. Capcom didn't just invent a popular game. They laid down the foundational architecture for the entire modern esports industry.
Oh, double up. Triple up, Jesus.
The spatial math of the neutral game, the lightning execution of the combo cancel, and the high-stakes risk of asymmetrical matchups. These aren't just retro mechanics. They are the eternal pillars of competitive design. Every time you see a player clutch out a low-health victory at EVO, or execute a perfect parry in front of a screaming crowd, you are watching the living legacy of a game that dared to pull the camera down, lock two players in an arena, and tell them to fight. Thanks for watching. If you want to dive deeper into the hidden engineering of the games that defined our competitive culture, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let me know your definitive Street Fighter II main in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.
滅波動拳